streaming now.
The following content may contain visuals that are disturbing, graphic, or sensitive in nature. Viewer discretion is advised. This material is intended for mature audiences and may not be suitable for all viewers. Please exercise caution while watching, and if you find such content distressing, we recommend discontinuing viewing. This disclaimer is provided to ensure awareness and to prioritize viewer well-being.
Hello and welcome to News 9. I'm Verghese Abraham. First up, let's take a look at what's happening on the Israel-Hamas front. The war between Israel and Hamas has now entered its 52nd day. Let's get you the latest update on your screens regarding what is happening on the 52nd day. Hamas has freed 17 hostages held in Gaza on the third day of the truce. Now, total number of freed hostages stands at 41. 39 Palestinian prisoners have been released by Israel. Qatar, Egypt and United States are actively advocating the extension of the truce. Palestinians detained by Israel in the occupied West Bank has reached 3,200 since October 7th. 200 Palestinians in the West Bank have been killed since October 7th. Palestinian farmer has also been killed in central Gaza Strip, adds to the tensions in that area. Meanwhile, 4 commanders of the Hamas armed wing has been killed and 75 IDF soldiers have been killed in IDF ground operation. 14,854 Palestinians have been killed since the war began. Well, disturbing news is coming in from Vermont in United States, where 3 young Palestinian students were reportedly shot near the University of Vermont's campus in Burlington. Now, the victims of the horrific attack were wearing traditional Palestinian face scarves when they were wounded. According to sources, this incident unfolded somewhere around the evening of Saturday, prompting concerns and attention from organizations like the American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee. The ADC revealed that 2 of the victims are currently in intensive care, while one was set to be released on Sunday. Expressing deep concern, the ADC highlighted the potential motive behind the shooting, suspecting it may have been fueled by the victim's Arab identity. The families of students involved are calling for a comprehensive investigation by law enforcement, urging authorities to treat this incident as a potential hate crime. Meanwhile, efforts have been there to find out who the gunman behind it is, and the police have raided certain areas. They suspect that they have zeroed in on the gunman who is responsible for the shooting that happened. A 4-year-old American girl is among the 17 hostages that were released by Hamas on Sunday, the latest group in the ongoing ceasefire with Israeli forces. Now, the truce is also allowing a moment of reflection on the war's devastation and uncertain path ahead. Take a look.
Scenes like these have been unfolding in Israel and the Palestinian territories in recent days, as more hostages are let go by Hamas in exchange for the release of more Palestinians in Israeli prisons. This Israeli government video is said to show some of the young families released on Saturday reuniting, and again on Sunday, another group was freed. 17 hostages, including a 4-year-old American girl. 19 Palestinians were released in return. The temporary truce between Hamas and Israeli forces is allowing more humanitarian aid into Gaza as well, but there's also another effect. It's allowing some Gazans a moment of reflection in the ruins of what was once their home. Reuters journalists found Ibrahim Kaninch in the city of Khan Yunis, near the border with Egypt, feeding bits of cardboard into this fire outside his partially destroyed house. He's making tea. He's saying that gathering around a bonfire like this used to be an Arab tradition, particularly for Palestinians, and although the practice was lost years ago, he muses that the war has brought back some parts of Palestinian heritage. But what's next, he asks. There's no electricity or water. There's shortages of all basic human needs. No house, no shelter, no clothes, food or water. Everything is scarce. Kaninch says the occupation, referring to Israel, can destroy homes but can't destroy their right to a homeland. The war has leveled large parts of northern Gaza, such as this area of Gaza City, and forced hundreds of thousands from their homes. Negotiators from Qatar and Egypt and the United States government are pushing for the ceasefire to extend beyond its Monday deadline.
The Israeli army on Sunday released a video of a 9-year-old hostage who was held by Hamas running into her father's arms as she was brought back to Israel after spending her 9th birthday as a captive in Gaza Strip the day before. Returned in the second group of hostages released by Hamas under the Qatari broker deal with Israel, she appeared in good health along with fellow hostage Hila Rotem Shoshani, whose mother remains in Gaza.
Emily Hand is a closure for me because unfortunately I'm the one who told her father that she has been found murdered. And a week later, I'm the one who told the father that she probably captured. So it's a kind of a relief for me that she's still alive, she's here, she's with us.
Solvi and other community members were watching video of the release of the hostages at the Dead Sea Resort, where most of the kibbutz residents were evacuated to after the raids.
And I have to tell his father to give him a hug.
After 49 days in Hamas captivity in Gaza, 85-year-old Yafa Adar was embraced by her family in Israel, who is now trying to think together how to help with her recovery. Adar was captured from her home in Kibbutz Nir Oz on October 7th when swarms of Hamas militants carried out a deadly and destructive rampage in southern Israel. Dozens were kidnapped from the farming community. Yafa was one of them. Shortly after kidnapping, a video circulating on social media showed Adar being driven in a gold cart, which is said to be in Gaza. Meanwhile, Adar, whose family haven't heard from her since, was part of the first batch of Israeli hostages released from Hamas captivity on November 24th under an Israel-Hamas truce deal. Yafa Adar will not be able to return to her home as large parts of kibbutz were destroyed in the Hamas rampage. The family is now discussing what would be the best place for her to live in safety. Hundreds of Palestinians welcomed freed prisoners in the early hours on Sunday in the West Bank. Footage appeared to show released prisoners being carried on people's shoulders as crowd cheered, clapped and waved flags in the streets. Now, the Israeli authorities released 39 Palestinian prisoners, including 6 women and 33 children, from 2 prisons as part of the second batch of the exchange deal with Hamas. Now, the Palestinian news agency Wafa reported the news on Sunday. A Palestinian family near the occupied West Bank city of Hebron welcomed their son after he was released from an Israeli prison on the 3rd day of the 4-day truce between Israel and the Palestine terrorist faction Hamas. Crowds gathered outside the homes of the released Palestinian prisoner Khalil Zamareh to celebrate his release. The ongoing 4-day truce is the first halt in the fighting in the 7 weeks since Hamas killed 1,200 people and took over 240 hostages back into Gaza. According to the Palestinian news agency Wafa, Israel freed 39 Palestinians, 6 women and 33 teenagers from the prisons. Now, a crowd in Ramallah celebrated the release of Palestinians from Israeli prisons. In Jerusalem, Israeli police restricted celebrations so families received their released prisoners inside their own homes and not in big gatherings. Israeli prisons are overseen by far-right National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir, who was long advocated for a crackdown on Palestinian prisoners. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Sunday met with security forces inside the Gaza Strip. Netanyahu spoke with the soldiers and commanders and received a security briefing on the current situation. His visit took place on the third day of the 4-day truce between Israel and Hamas.
We are here in the Gaza Strip with our heroic fighters. We will make every effort to return our hostages and eventually we will return them all. We have 3 goals for this war: eliminate Hamas, return all our hostages and ensure that Gaza will not become a threat to the state of Israel again. I am here to say to my friends, to the fighters who are telling me the same thing, and I repeat this to you, the citizens of Israel. We will continue until the end, until victory. Nothing will stop us, and we are convinced that we have the strength, the power, the will, and the determination to achieve the war's goal, and that is what we will do.
Emotions are running high as thousands gathered in Jerusalem on Saturday to protest Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's mishandling of the hostage situation and the war against Hamas. Protesters with Israeli flags, banners and signs condemning Netanyahu demanded he leave office immediately.
Prime Minister of Israel to leave his job because he is the one responsible for the October 7th disaster, the biggest one we had in the history of Israel, where 400 people were murdered and babies, women and children were kidnapped, raped and burned to death. We need him to go. He is responsible. We need him to go now, yesterday.
Isra Jabiz, a Palestinian detainee freed by Israel under a hostage deal agreed with the Islamist group Hamas, reunited with her family on Sunday. Jabiz suffered from burn injuries which are a result of explosion in her car during what Israel said was an attempt to murder in 2015. She was sentenced to 11 years in jail. The collapsed parliament building in Gaza City and a damaged area around where the evidence of Hamas's war with Israel on Saturday, a day after the two sides began a 4-day truce, allowed the exchange of Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners. Palestinian officials said that the Israeli army attacked and destroyed the building during the 50 days war. These are in fact the ruins of the damaged Palestinian parliament in Gaza Strip. The legislature house in Gaza Strip has been completely destroyed in the war. Meanwhile, the Israeli Defense Forces have put out an important message for the civilians of Gaza. What they say is that the conditions that the people must follow as part of the ceasefire. It says that for their safety, they have to follow these instructions. Now, these are the instructions that they have been put out. During the period of temporary humanitarian pause, civilians are allowed to move south, especially south of Wadi Gaza, They've asked not to move to the north of the strip. It is prohibited to enter the sea, by the way, and it is prohibited to approach within 1 kilometer of the border with Israel. Palestinian residents of the West Bank city of Jenin bid farewell to 5 dead and assessed damages left an Israeli raid. Now, the Israeli military said it raided Jenin to detain a Palestinian who was wanted for alleged involvement in a lethal West Bank ambush in August, as well as 20 other suspects, and the forces engaged with the armed terrorists and killed 5 of them. Now, the Jenin Brigades, a local armed group, said its fighters battled the Israeli troops. It did not immediately provide details on any casualties, but local witnesses said that at least one of the Palestinians killed in Jenin was a known brigade's member. 6 other Palestinians were also injured during the shootout in Jenin. Collapsed buildings and damaged roads in Jabalia, Gaza were the evidence of Hamas's war with Israel. These are in fact pictures from just days after the two sides began a 4-day truce in the area. Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners. Now, the Palestine Red Crescent Society said that 196 trucks of humanitarian aid that was carried food, water and medical supplies through the Rafah crossing, the biggest such convoy into Gaza since Hamas assault on Israel and Israel's subsequent bombardment of the territory. Brands based in the Western nations are facing the impact of a boycott campaign in Egypt and Jordan over Israel's military offensive in Gaza. Our next report tells you more.
This McDonald's in Giza, Egypt has seen few customers in recent weeks. When Reuters visited in early November, the inside appeared empty. That's because the fast food restaurant has been hit by a boycott over Israel's military offensive in Gaza since the Hamas attack on October 7th. The campaign has targeted Western brands in Arab countries over perceptions about pro-Israeli stances and financial ties. A sign in the window saying the franchise operator and its staff support Palestinians has done little to change those perceptions. Here's Ahmed Izzat, who lives in Cairo.
It is fundamental for us as people supporting our Palestinian brothers to at the very least stop buying the products that help the Zionist entity kill our Palestinian brothers in Gaza.
McDonald's has said it's dismayed by disinformation about its position on the conflict. Its Egyptian franchise has pledged $650,000 in aid to Gaza. An employee at the corporate offices of McDonald's in Egypt said sales at this franchise fell by at least 70% in October and November compared to the same months last year. Starbucks has also been targeted in the boycott campaign, despite the coffee giant saying it's a non-political organization. An Egyptian supplier to Starbucks and McDonald's says he's noticed client demand has slowed down by about 50%. Even smaller businesses are feeling the pinch too. Kiosk owner Issam Abu Shalabi says customers are demanding Egyptian soft drinks instead of products from Israel or the US. I see it as very wrong, he says. What does it mean to drink something or not drink it? Shalabi says if people really want to support Palestinians, they should fight alongside them. But Hassan Mahmoud with Egypt's boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement says the campaign lets people feel like they're making an impact and hitting companies where it hurts. This Cairo supermarket says it's had an uptick in sales because it replaced boycotted products with local ones. In Jordan, this grocery store has signs warning customers if a product is being boycotted. This customer says that if a boycotted item is picked up by mistake, she would return it immediately. Still, some remain skeptical about the effectiveness of boycotts. Take-up has also been uneven, with no major impact seen in some countries, including Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Tunisia.
An Israeli father is grappling with the agonizing reality of his 3 abducted children and wife allegedly taken by Hamas. The family is enduring an unimaginable separation, with the loved ones held captive in a foreign and undisclosed location deep underground in confined quarters. Listen.
But now it's been so long, I'm starting to lose it again. And you know, it's been 31 days, and that's too long to be without my kids and my wife, and for them to be held captive in a foreign place, you know, underground, in a small room, and I don't know in what situation they are in, health-wise, or, you know, if they're being fed, taken care of. So I can only hope that everything's all right.
Moving on 12th of November, 41 labourers got trapped as portions of the Israel-Hamas tunnel collapsed following a landslide. It has been 16 days since the Uttarkashi Tunnel collapsed, and the stranded workers continue to remain trapped. In the latest update, vertical drilling to rescue the 41 trapped workers in Uttarkashi's Silkyar tunnel got underway yesterday. Now, on day 1 of the vertical drilling, nearly 20 meters has been carried out, with 86 meters needed to reach the trapped workers. 6 plans are being deployed to rescue the trapped workers, with the best solution being horizontal drilling. The Meghna laser and plasma cutting machines have reached the Silkyara tunnel for the assisting in the removal of the blade. A unit of Madras sappers from the Corps of Engineering of Indian Army also reached the tunnel site on Sunday morning to assist the rescue operations. Machine equipped for sideways drilling is also expected to arrive at the tunnel during the night. Rescuers plan to manually dig through debris after removing the broken drill. Drone cameras deployed at tunnel site to monitor the rescue operations. Cooked fruits are being provided to the trapped workers. Well, it looks like all efforts are being carried out to ensure that immediately they do reach the people concerned. We had the Uttarakhand Minister, Chief Minister, also meeting up with the relatives of those who are trapped inside the tunnel as well. Meanwhile, a BSNL landline is being placed inside to ensure that they would be able to get a connection with those who are trapped inside. What we understand is that there have been a constant communication that has been put in place, especially after the workers had been trapped. Relatives have also been coming in and calling up those who have been trapped inside to speak with them. It is being said that the efforts are on to carry on with this communication and to ensure that the spirits of the trapped workers are high in this regard.
NHIDCL का काम चल रहा है सिलक्यारा एंड पे टनल के। वहां पर कल मैंने आपको बताया था कि ऑगर जो था वो मशीन अंदर फंस गई थी, उसके ब्लेड्स कुछ टूट गए थे, तो उनको मैनुअल कटिंग करके निकालना था। उसके लिए इक्विपमेंट को बाहर से आना था। खुशी है मुझे बताने में कि एयरफोर्स के जरिए और इंडिगो के चार्टर फ्लाइट के जरिए मैग्ना रॉड कटर, लेजर कटर और डीआरडीओ ने अपना प्लाज्मा कटर, ये तीनों चीजें वहां पर पहुंच गई हैं। उसके बाद जो पाइप जो सेगमेंट बन चुका था 47 मीटर का, उसके अंदर से निकालना था हमें, ये टूटा हुआ ऑगर जो था, जो ब्रोकन ऑगर था, वो तकरीबन अब 34 मीटर पीछे खींच लिया गया है। अप्रोक्सीमेटली 13 मीटर और बाकी है, उसको अलग अलग काट के और निकाला जा रहा है। तो अभी 13 मीटर अभी भी बाकी है। उम्मीद करते हैं कि आज रात तक ये 13 मीटर भी बाहर निकल जाएगा। उसके बाद ये 47 मीटर जो बना हुआ है, इसके जरिए आगे मैनुअल क्लियरेंस जो है उसका काम शुरू होगा। आर्मी के इंजीनियर्स की मदद के साथ, बाकी NHDICL के जो लोग हैं, IDCL के जो लोग हैं, उनके साथ मिलकर एक टीम वर्क के तौर पर ये आगे इसके अंदर बढ़ाया जाएगा। ऑब्वियसली जो स्पीड हमें पहले, जैसे मैंने बताया, 4 से 5 मीटर पर आवर मिल रही थी, वो स्पीड शायद आपको ना मिले, मगर तभी भी ये फेल सेफ तरीका है। ऑलरेडी 47 मीटर की हमें कामयाबी मिल गई है, तो उसको एक्सप्लॉइट करें और 15 मीटर जो बाकी है उसको शायद हम आसानी तो नहीं मगर काफी कोऑर्डिनेशन के साथ टेक्नोलॉजी इस्तेमाल करते हुए, मगर हाथ से ड्रिलिंग करके उसको निकाला जाएगा, उसको बनाया जाएगा और उसकी स्पीड जो है वो उससे पहले से काफी कम होगी। अभी तक 15 मीटर ड्रिलिंग हो चुकी है, उस जरिए 86 मीटर जाना है, 15 मीटर तकरीबन हो गई है ड्रिलिंग, और इसको चेक किया जा रहा है कितनी स्टेबिलिटी है। इसके बाद ये जो जरिया अगर सक्सेसफुल, बिल्कुल कामयाब रहा 86 मीटर तक पहुंचने में, तो आखिर में जाकर टनल का क्रस्ट भी मिलेगा, उस क्रस्ट को भी तोड़ना पड़ेगा और अंदर छेद करके, और फिर इस जरिए 86 मीटर जो है वो बकेट के तरीके से निकालना पड़ेगा हर इंडिविजुअल वर्कर को। इसकी काबिलियत एनडीआरएफ में हमारे बहुत है, उन्होंने बहुत ट्रेनिंग की हुई है, एनडीआरएफ वाले जानते हैं इसके बारे में पूरा, तो वो इसको इस तरीके के अंदर बहुत मदद देंगे।
Meanwhile, the efforts are on to keep the communication lines open with the trapped workers. My colleague Nivritti gets you more details on how these efforts are being carried out with the help of BSNL lines.
Now, what our authority is doing is to give connectivity to the workers. You can see this BSNL instrument here. So the mobile connectivity is what they are trying is that workers are connected 24/7 to their relatives, to the authorities, everybody, because until now what was happening was that they were speaking to the people inside through microphones and speakers, but now the authorities have set up a connection. They are trying to set up a connection. So you can see the equipment here that has been placed here, and the wires are being taken to inside the tunnel, so that the workers, 41 workers who are stranded inside for almost 15 days now, are connected 24/7 with their relatives who are waiting for them outside, and to the authorities, and to rescue workers, and to the mess where the food is being prepared for them. So everything is being taken care of, because it is going to take time. Earlier they were expecting that they will be coming out soon and work was going at a fast pace, but because the time has increased, so the authorities have decided that this connection should be provided to the workers trapped inside.
In the ongoing rescue operations for the trapped workers inside the Uttarkashi Tunnel, authorities are diligently exploring 6 key options. What are these options? One, of course, the horizontal drilling has emerged as the primary method for 47 meters already completed, focusing on retrieving broken auger machine parts using magna and plasma cutters. Now, the vertical drilling, the second best option, has reached nearly 20 meters out of 86, with plans to break the tunnel's crust after reaching the full depth. Sideways drilling machines for perpendicular drilling over 170 meters are expected soon. The construction of the 483-meter rescue tunnel from Barcode End utilizing specialized blast techniques has also commenced, with 5 blasts completed, creating at least 10 to 12 meter area. Now, vertical drilling from the Barcode end, led by Oil and Natural Gas Corporation (ONGC), involves a 24-inch drilling and construction of a 5-kilometer road by the BRO. If all else fails, drift technology stands as a potential contingency option. Efforts are underway to carry out 3 blasts per day in the rescue tunnel constructions. Meanwhile, the NDMA member, Lieutenant General Syed Atta Hasnain, said that 6 plans are working. These plans are being adopted in a very synchronized way.
6 प्लान काम कर रहे हैं. पहले 5 बताया था, उस वक्त भी 6ठा प्लान तो मौजूद था. वो 6ठा प्लान अभी भी है, हालांकि उस पर फिजिकल काम नहीं हुआ, तैयारियां उसकी पूरी शुरू हो गई हैं. और एक बड़े सिंक्रोनाइज तरीके से ये प्लान सब अपनाए जा रहे हैं, जिनके ऊपर काम, कुछ पे काम शुरू हो गया है, कुछ पे आज शुरू हुआ है, कुछ पे अभी भी तैयारी है, इंतजार है आखिरी इक्विपमेंट का.
My colleague Nivati was speaking to the relatives and the people who have been quite upbeat that their relatives who are stuck inside the trapped tunnel will be rescued soon. Let's listen in.
हमको पता चला यहाँ जो मेस में खाना बना रहा है, तो एक काम तो कैसे 2-3 बार कर यहाँ से गया है घर पर. फिर आता था तो बताकर नहीं आता था कि हम कहाँ जा रहे हैं. जब आ जाता था तब बताता था कि हम पहुँच गए हैं. तो पहले जब बात हमने की तो हमने ये कहा कैसे हो बेटे, जो भी बात करेगा तो यही कहेगा. तो कहने लगा हम ठीक हैं, और हम कहने खाना उना की व्यवस्था आप घबराते तो नहीं, खाना पीना पाते हो? कहला हाँ पाते हैं पापा. घबराते तो नहीं, घबराना मत बेटे, एक दूसरे जितने लोग हो टीम साथ में एक हंसकर जीना है, जंग लड़के बाहर निकलना, घबराना नहीं बेटे. कहला नहीं पापा, हारने वाले में के हम नहीं हैं. कहने लगा और ठीक है सबका हाल चल. हम कहने ठीक है, आप कहा खाना पीना खाए रहना. हमने कहा बेटा आप खाना पीना खाए रहना, हम सब बने रहना, हिम्मत मत हारना, काम जारी है, चल रहा है. सरियों का झुंड लोहे का आगे पड़ गया है, गाटर वगैरह, तो वो काटने में समय बीत रहा है. वो सब जब कट के साफ हो जाएगा, जहाँ साफ हुआ तहाँ बाहर हो जाओगे.
मेरे अंदर भाई फंसे हुए हैं जिनका नाम सबा अहमद है. यहाँ कंपनी में वो सीनियर फोरमैन के पोस्ट पे है. मेरे से पर डे उनसे बातचीत होती है, 2-3 बार 4 बार बात होती है. वो लोग सब अंदर में बढ़िया से हैं, लोग मज़े से हैं, कोई तरह का अंदर में प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. हर चीज़ खाने पीने का अवेलेबल है, बाहर से भेजा जा रहा है. कोई तरह का जो भी उधर से वो लोग रिक्वायर कर रहे हैं, वो सामान इधर से भेज दिया जा रहा है. मैं यहाँ 13 तारीख को आया हूँ. 13 तारीख से अभी तक मैं पर डे कॉन्टेक्ट में हूँ. इस तरह का तो कभी हादसा मैं देखा नहीं हूँ. और जो हादसा हुआ है इसमें सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट भी है, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट भी है, सब शामिल है. जो भी बाहर से भी टीम आई है, बहुत एक्सपर्ट सारे लोग आए हुए हैं. ये लोग सब एकजुट होकर के कंपनी के साथ काम कर रहे हैं. ये बहुत बड़ी बात है, ये बहुत खुशी की बात है.
उम्मीद भी होती है
सब लोगों को यही उम्मीद लगा हुआ है कि जितना जल्द हो सके वो लोग 41 आदमी बाहर निकाल ले. वो सब घर के बारे में, सब फैमिली वाले लोगों के बारे में पूछ रहे थे. सब लोग के बारे में बता दिए कि सब लोग बढ़िया से है, कोई तरह के किसी को ये नहीं है, तुम अपना बढ़िया से रहो, तुम्हारे को कोई टेंशन ना लेना है. जो भी है यहाँ से कंपनी जो भी हो रहा है, जितना जल्दी है तुम लोग को बाहर निकालने का प्रयास कर रही है, और बहुत जल्दी आप लोग बाहर आ जाओगे. मगर ये भी अपने भाई को बोला हूँ कि जितना भी लोग हैं सब लोगों को मिला के चलो, सब लोगों को हौसला दो कि हौसला नहीं हारना है, और जितना जल्दी है आप लोगों को बाहर निकालना. सेहत के बारे में बोला, सबकी सेहत ठीक है, किसी को कोई तरह का ऐसे कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, सब लोग बढ़िया से रह रहे हैं.
Meanwhile, let's take a look at who are the men who are trapped inside. 15 are from Jharkhand, 8 are from Uttar Pradesh, 5 each from Odisha and Bihar, 3 are from West Bengal, and 2 each are from Uttarakhand and Assam, and 1 from Himachal Pradesh. The men trapped inside the Uttarkashi Tunnel may have come from different states, but that united them as the need to venture out in search of livelihood. Those working here fall into 2 salary brackets, rupees 24,000 for skilled workers, pump operators or drillers, and rupees 18,000 for unskilled workers such as laborers or helpers.
उसके बगल वाला
Tragedy struck in Manmad Highway in Nashik, Maharashtra in a fatal collision between a container and a car. The tragedy took place between 4 to 5 p.m. after a car and a truck collided head-on with each other as two vehicles were passing on that highway. The police has said the devastation claimed 5 lives on the Ankai railway flyover. The individuals were returning from a religious gathering at Mahasabha Devasthan in Kudalgaon near Manmad when the incident occurred. The car involved suffered severe damage and the deceased have been taken to the Upazila hospital of Manmad. Unfortunately, relief efforts faced challenges due to adverse weather conditions, rain and nightfall, leading to slow traffic along the route. The centre has asked state governments to immediately review public health and hospital preparedness measures amid a spike in pneumonia cases in China. It said it was monitoring the situation in the neighbouring country. The centre also said that there was no cause for any alarm at the moment. The Union Health Secretary has written a letter to the states and union territories directing them to take measures to ramp up medical infrastructure such as hospital beds, drugs and vaccines for influenza, medical oxygen, antibiotics, personal protective equipment, testing kits and reagents, functionality of oxygen plants and ventilators, and infection control practices in the health facilities. Well, at the Sri Venkateshwara Swami temple in Tirumala, prayed for good health, well-being and prosperity. 140 crore Indians is what the Prime Minister has said. The Prime Minister was at the Devasthanam for his morning worship, and at the worship center, he said that this was what he prayed, that is for the well-being and prosperity of 140 crore Indians. It's the last leg of the 5-state elections and all eyes are on Telangana. Prime Minister Modi and BJP National President JP Nadda will be holding rallies in the state. The Congress is hoping for a resurgence in Telangana against the BRS. The BJP has been trying to become an alternative in the state after encouraging wins in the GHMC and Lok Sabha by-polls. The BJP is hoping to get Telangana as its second southern state after its inroads in Karnataka. Polling has been held for Mizoram, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, and Rajasthan. Now, the results of the 5-state elections will be announced on December 3rd. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the public at Medak, Telangana yesterday. Prime Minister Modi targeted the KCR government over scams. Prime Minister Modi accused KCR of only working for his children and relatives and not for the public. Prime Minister Modi said that BRS and KCR have indulged in scams of crores of rupees and have filed their pockets instead of doing any work for the public.
यहाँ के लोगों को धोखा देने का कोई मौका छोड़ा नहीं है। उन्होंने अगर काम किया होता तो सीएम को गजवेल के लोगों से माफी न मांगनी पड़ती। केसीआर की आदत झूठे वायदे करके उन्हें तोड़ देने की है। केसीआर ने दलित सीएम का वायदा करके तोड़ दिया। केसीआर ने दलित बंधु योजना का वायदा करके तोड़ दिया। केसीआर ने 2 बेडरूम वाले घर का वायदा करके उसे भी तोड़ दिया। केसीआर ने युवाओं को रोजगार का वायदा करके तोड़ दिया। केसीआर ने किसानों को पानी का वायदा करके उसे भी तोड़ दिया। केसीआर ने स्कीम्स का वायदा किया था, लेकिन बदले में सिर्फ और सिर्फ स्कैम्स दिए। केसीआर ने आपके बच्चों के लिए काम करने का वायदा किया था, लेकिन सिर्फ अपने बच्चों, अपने रिश्तेदारों के लिए काम किया। केसीआर ने आपकी आय बढ़ाने का वायदा किया था, लेकिन करोड़ों के घोटाले करके हर साल अपनी आय बढ़ा ली।
In Rome, thousands rallied demanding an end to violence against women following the tragic murder of 22-year-old university student Giulia Cecciltin earlier this month. Eyewitness video captured the impassioned crowd chanting and marching through the city streets. The nationwide protests reflect growing outrage and a call for change. Italian lawmakers responded by pledging to tighten measures against violence towards women, approving a set of initiatives on November 22nd to enhance protection for vulnerable women and combat femicide through the country. The collective outcry underscores the urgent need for action and awareness to address a gender-based violence. Lima also witnessed a march by hundreds of women demanding justice for femicide victims on the International Day of Elimination of Violence Against Women. Chanting and brandishing placards, protesters spotlighted gender-based violence issues including rape, child pregnancies and murder. The mother of femicide victim joined the march, expressing concerns about her daughter's murderer potentially being released. Authorities recorded 110 femicides and over 110,000 cases of family-related gender-based violence this year. The impassioned demonstration underscores the pressing need for addressing and combating pervasive gender violence in Peru. Protests were also seen in Madrid, where thousands rallied on Saturday for the International Day of Non-Violence Against Women, denouncing patriarchy and urging governments to take affirmative action. People were seen marching along the Gran Via Avenue, holding the banner, "It's over." Now, the protesters, dressed in purple, angrily chanted against the violence. They also expressed solidarity with Palestinians and waved flags and staged a performance in Madrid City Hall. 1,273 women have lost their lives to gender violence in Spain since 2003, with 52 fatalities in 2023 alone. The powerful demonstration highlights the urgent need for societal change and government intervention to combat the pervasive issue of violence against women.
Nombre y apellidos no conocidos. Sigo riendo, hago lo que quiera, muero en el intento. A nadie le importa lo que estoy haciendo, lo único que importa es lo que está por dentro. La resistencia trans, aquí está la resistencia trans.
The number of people killed by floods from heavy rains in Somalia has climbed to 96 as the East Horn of Africa is battered by heavy rains. Let's take a look.
The heavy rains in Somalia have taken the lives of almost 100 people, according to state news agency SONA on Saturday. It said in a post on social media 96 people had perished, adding the figure was confirmed by the head of the country's disaster management agency. The constant downpours are putting fear into the country's residents, like Hawa Ali Ahmadin.
These floods are double compared to the previous ones. You can't take a risk in this one. When it's raining, we sit outside under a tent until the rain slows down. We only come in the house when the rain slows down so that we can cook for the children.
Somalia and the rest of the East Horn of Africa have been battered by relentless heavy rains that begun in October, caused by El Niño and Indian Ocean dipole weather phenomena. Both are climate patterns that impact ocean surface temperatures and cause above-average rainfall. The flooding has been described as the worst in decades, displacing 700,000 people, according to the United Nations. The intense rains are exacerbating an already existing humanitarian crisis caused by years of insurgency. The head of Somalia's Red Cross, Pascal Cutad, says the worst is not over yet.
We have currently a confluence still of the Indian Ocean dipole of El Nino. We have a cyclone building up in the Indian Ocean. We have rains continuing in the highlands of Ethiopia. All of that means that this is not over and it's not yet at its peak. It's getting worse and these people are going to suffer more.
In neighbouring Kenya, the floods have so far killed 76 people, according to the Kenyan Red Cross, destroying roads and bridges as well as leaving many residents without shelter, drinking and food supplies, according to the charity Doctors Without Borders.
Well, that's all in this edition of the Bulletin. Stay tuned to News 9 for further updates.